SwoleBenji here. Today we're going to be doing some DPS comparisons just real quick. So what I want to talk about is the attributes, okay? We're going to be using the hatchet and the bow just to compare. So the hatchet is primarily a strength weapon. So if you hover over this little question mark, it will tell you primary attributes are the Warhammer, Great Axe, Sword, and Hatchet, right? So if you want to maximize your hatchet damage, you would obviously pump strength, but if you go to dexterity, there's also the hatchet, and it is a secondary attribute, which means you still gain damage by pumping dexterity, which allows you to, you know, mix up your weapons a bit. So we're going to be using these level like 15 lost mobs here, and with a full dex gear that I can, you know, that I just found on this character, we're gonna compare damage. So let's get in here and smack them up. I want to hit them from the front. There we go. So we're doing 283, 458 crit. Pretty simple stuff, right? Let's kill another one. Now, I'm not using Berserk because I don't want to boost my damage. So 283 again, 481 crit on that one. I don't know what determines the crit or not, but basically we're hitting them for 283. Okay. So now let's just respec and pump it all into strength instead. Now my gear is giving me dexterity, so we still have dexterity, right? But now that we put it all into into strength, let's see how much harder we hit. Which I don't think it's going to be that much harder. But let's find a mob and find out. This one's level 15, just like the other ones. So we were hitting for 283, and now we're hitting crits, 375. All right, it's actually a pretty decent upgrade. Interesting that we double crit there. All right, guy, let's get in front of you, puff out your chest, hitting for 326. All right, so that's a pretty good DPS comparison. You know, to see just how much better strength is for the hatchet. It's a pretty decent upgrade. But what about bows, right? Now, bows are purely dex. They don't scale with strength at all or anything else, right? So this is like a hard-locked weapon. And we're going to compare a heavy bow draw, fully drawn back headshot. So 848. And this is without all the dex. Alright, so now we're going to respec, put it all back into the dex. There we go. And now we're going to compare again and see how much more damage we do. Alright, full draw. Well, I want to get a headshot, of course. Let's see if that'll hit. That was not a crit headshot, so we're going to try again on this guy. There we go, 1,144. So you have to kind of determine like your weapon choices. Do you want to just whip out a hatchet and deal, you know, like 50 to 60 more damage per swing? And by the way, if you hit enemies from behind, you deal extra damage. So you should always like try to do back attacks when you can. Basically a backstab. All right, so of course, you know, this comparison works across several weapons, but one interesting one that I like, okay, you got the Ice Gauntlet, which scales with intelligence, but the musket kind of also scales with intelligence, which is really cool, because intelligence, you can you get more critical hit damage, like you get a lot of really cool bonuses, and elemental damage, if you elementalize your musket and you get a headshot with a burning thing, you can also like increase the damage over time from the burning shot, which I think there's some potential there, right? But again, this is all stuff that people will math out and figure out over time. All the spreadsheet guys, you know, they're going to figure out the exact numbers that you need. And I know also there is diminishing returns. So like if I just pumped dexterity to like 300, right? It won't be as effective, or I'm sorry, let's say strength. You pump strength all the way to like 300, right? And your hatchet's going to do a bunch of damage. But instead, if you stopped your strength at like 250 or 225, I forget the exact number, and you start pumping it into dexterity, the dexterity will actually be giving you more damage on your hatchet because, again, there are diminishing returns. I don't know the numbers, and I don't know how the math works on that. People will have this figured out by the time, you know, the game's been out for like a month or two. But for the early game, you know, if you want to run around with a hatchet, and you just want to smash things really fast, then you would obviously just put everything into strength, right? But if your secondary weapon is dexterity, you know, and you want to use it more often, and I'm just gonna pop berserking here and just tank this. There we go. 50 hatchet XP. Very nice, very cool. And like for me, bow and musket, like I love ranged weapons, okay? Bow does so much darn damage, and because I'm going to be mostly gathering, I'm going to be taking advantage of this dodges cost 10 less stamina, so that I can run and do like a little dodge, some animation canceling. So I'm going to be definitely using dexterity. So that means that I want to use any of these weapons, you know, spear, musket, rapier. Like, if you've watched a previous video of mine, you'll know that hatchet is just the go-to. I need to complete quests with as little brain power and, you know, to be most efficient as possible. So, obviously, dexterity helps hatchets. However, if I pumped it all into strength, I would get nothing, you know, nothing at all for the bow, right? Actually, the bow says, yeah, it just skills of dexterity. And we got some people here, like, the servers go down in literally 20 minutes, and people are still out here playing it, which is really cool to see. But that's why, like we just do a little DPS comparison, right? If I go all strength, I lose all of my power in the bow. But I gain, what, 50 to 100 more damage with the hatchet? So you gotta figure out what weapons are you going to use, what weapons do you want to use, and is it worth the trade-off or not? For me, Dex is the way to go. That's where I'm going. So yeah, you could. Another thing too. Let's do a final test here where we don't have either. Okay, we're just gonna pump it all into Constitution, so we're really tanky, right? And now let's see how much damage we do with none of the stats. Now, I do have Dex from the gear, so that's going to still give us some damage. But if we wanted to be tanky, and let's get in front of this guy. Now we're hitting for 228, 320 crit. So it's not nearly as much. To me, like, I don't need to be tanky if I kill everything very quickly, right? And I don't know, shooting zombies as they run at you is very addicting and fun. I know, you just gotta really feel for it. There we go. Like, I would rather do 1,100 damage than 800 and, you know, be less tanky for it, because I can just chug water, I can just chug potions, I can just chug food, like, and as a hatchet user, you can just press berserk and you just heal. So I don't need to be tanky. But if you want to wear heavy armor and be tanky, you know, then that's fine. You're just going to suffer a DPS loss. And to me, the DPS loss is not worth it. I know this video is just kind of me ranting about damage and just kind of showing off, like, respecking a whole bunch of times to show you the different damage, but that's essentially what the video is. Hopefully you find it useful. I'm SwoleBenji, thanks for watching. As always, be a pro and stay swole. Leave a like and a comment. If you do both, it's an algorithm cheat code. It's like a YouTube combo. It really, really helps out. Also, subscribe if you haven't. I try to make vids every day. I can't always promise that, of course, because, well, beta ends in like 20 minutes, but if I find something useful, I'm going to make a video for it, and just hitting subscribe, you'll see it on your feed. You might learn something new, you might learn like a cool tip, or just like a really secret insider thing, because I'm not the kind of guy that's going to like keep secrets in games like this. I'm going to share absolutely every little thing that I know. So yeah, just hit subscribe. Anyway, take care, I will see you in the next one. Hopefully you found this video useful.